As I grew a little older, and it was in school and in high school, you know, the schools were here in town, and we walked to school, and everybody was treated equally, and those are pleasant memories.
My earliest memories are when I started to school at 4 years old at the Shiloh Elementary School in the Shiloh community of Jackson County. Miss Bonnie Loftus was the teacher there, and she picked me and my two brothers and sister up and took us to school there. Of course, back in those days, the teachers wanted to keep their schools and they needed a number to do that. So they talked my mother and dad into letting me start when I was 4 years old.
Well, when I first started to school, I went to Antioch. We went in the old church building for a while, and then they decided to build a new church. And when they built the new church building, they built us a schoolhouse.
And of course, we went to church at McCoynsville Church of Christ, and they met in the old McCoynsville school building. So a lot of the churches met in school buildings in this area in those days.
Each community had a school back at that time. An elementary school, and North Springs and Granville had a 2-year high school at that time. And out here was the only 4-year high school in the county. We had 2 grades in one room, so you'd have primer and first grade in one room, second and third grade in one room, 4th and 5th, 5th and 6th, and 7th and 8th. And then you graduated from supposed to at that time and go to high school.
I went to Gangster Elementary School, where I eventually wound up teaching 2nd grade for 12 years and kindergarten for 21 years. So I feel like I've been at Gangster Elementary most of my life.
Catherine Galbraith and I sat together. We had double desks, they were called. It was a seat about like this, with a long desk and with a shelf underneath. Yeah, that's where you put your books. And Catherine and I sat together for 7 years, every year. And we sat right behind Jimmy Anderson's daddy, Clay.
My dad was H. Clay Anderson. He was born here in Jackson County. My dad drove a school bus for a number of years here in Jackson County.
I never did have any really problem with math, but it wasn't my favorite subject. But we had the awfulest written problems that ever has been. These big old long arithmetic problems, and so-and-so had it was so-and-so, and it was so-and-so, and if so-and-so was blah, blah, blah. And if I ever had a problem with one, all I had to do was punch Clay and ask him how to work it. He could tell me.
We had as nice a time back then as the kids have now at school. We had lots of things to do, and they did plays and played ball, and at the end of the year, when they had graduation, the children all dressed up and was just, as I would say, looked like somebody when they graduated. They looked professional.
I had several, I thought, real good teachers that I liked. Miss Ethel Parker, loved her. She was very kind and sweet.
I have to mention Miss Margaret Hicks and Mr. Homer Fox and Miss Anna Mae Fox. They were my school teachers at Plains Lick. And I always felt, which I thought at the time you don't realize it, and I always thought that I was Miss Margaret's pet. You know, she was just always so loving and tender. So was Miss Anna Mae.
My dad was a public school teacher. He taught vocational agriculture. And then after that, he became superintendent of schools. Served until he passed away while he was superintendent in 1968.
I started teaching when John Richard's daddy was superintendent. And they needed somebody to teach a 5th and 6th grade class. They put a little blackboard on one wall and put the desk facing that blackboard, and that was the outer office of the principal's office. They just didn't have room anywhere. That's the only place they had. And well, I didn't more know how to teach little children like that than anything or what. But I guess I didn't have any problem.
The best times I had was when I taught children who were motivated. Most of the students that I worked with who did well were self-motivated, and I think it came a lot from their home situation. I've always said, of course, I spent several years teaching, and I've always said that the job of teaching, if you had motivated students who wanted to learn and who were willing to put some effort into it, that there's no better profession